glance, she's over.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wednesday's edition of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I am thrilled you're here. And of course, I am joined by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard.
That's me. How are you?
That is him. In case you're wondering, that is him. He does exist. He's not just a hand puppet.
He does exist. Not according to Pixie.
Well, you know. We all would like to be experts, but thank you for turning that off. I forgot about that.
Yeah, well, I was getting cold.
Oh, well. Your nipples are cutting Oreos through your t-shirt.
Whoa, family show. Hey, there's Nick. Haven't seen Nick in a while.
Oh, Nick, good job. Thanks for coming in. And thank all of you for being here. It's already filling up fast, ladies and gentlemen. It's
limited seating.
Limited seating only here on the Paranormal Portal.
Only. Wow.
Nah, if you've got an internet connection, we got room for you. That's
absolutely. Sneak on in.
That's the way we roll here on the portal. But welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is our Wednesday edition, YouTube only, so the call-in number, excuse me, will not work. So don't call it.
Don't call.
Don't call it unless you want to talk to Zap Cupboard doing gematria. It's Gematria Night on TFR, which is, you know, a fantastic show and all, but it's not the portal, so... if you want to talk to us, you're going to have a hard time doing it that way.
Yeah, your best bet's to grab your crystal and just telepathy the thing in. What was that? What?
Dun, dun, dun.
What?
No, it's just the way of the world. So welcome to the show, everybody. We hope you've had a good week. It is Hump Day's Eve, so we are moving towards the weekend very steadily. How's your week been going down?
You know, well, it was Saturday I backed into that guy at the RVs.
That's true, but don't dwell in the past.
No, I let it go. You know what, though? I got to say, though, you know, like I mentioned earlier, you know, I've been taking the Geo's secret elixir of life, and I've been sleeping a lot better.
Excellent.
I've been remembering my dreams the last couple nights.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, what Don's talking about is Aya Life. It's a company started by Chris and Cherie. It's an excellent product. It's CBD oil, 100% organic, and it has the spirit of the Aya plant, but not the psychoactive parts at all. It's just the
that's too bad.
Be Happy is included in it, which is supposed to, you know, it just helps to connect you.
Right.
And it's a real neat blend, and it's fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
I've used it myself, and it's phenomenal. It really is. So
hopefully
if you want to check it out and you want to help support their raw mission, go over to ialife.com and check it out yourself.
Yeah.
See
absolutely.
if you too can become part of the iLife family. But it's great stuff. So just our what?
Pixie, I remember she just said this, but I remember we had a conversation the other day, and she said right now, she in the chat room, she said Brent and Don will be doing iLife commercials soon.
Pop up, yeah.
What she's talking about is the other day she's like, hey, you guys should do iLife commercials for Chris. Something like, hey, all this is Don Longbeard, and when I'm having trouble carrying bodies up to my freezer or down to the basement.
Yeah, that would be a good plug.
I guess it's funny.
It speaks to our audience quite a bit, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
We're a twisted group of souls. There's no question about it, ladies and gentlemen, but we love you. It's, you know, some of the best families are dysfunctional as hell, and ours should be no different. So the Portal family is always tight and loving, but we are an eclectic group. There's no question about it.
Oh, my God, yes. Just thrown together by the universe.
Absolutely. So welcome to the show, and I hope you guys have been doing great. And it seems like it took forever from Saturday until today.
Yes, it did.
It really did. But special thank you to everybody who sent me birthday wishes. The first was my birthday. It was incredible amount of love and kindness that many of you guys showed me and sent messages, and it was really wonderful. And I thank you so much. You know, I don't know. I'm not a real like holiday kind of person.
Right.
But I got to tell you, this is probably one of the cooler birthdays I can remember, just because of all the love, and it was really great hearing from so many people who, you know, sent me messages and said really kind, loving things. So thank you all, and I appreciate it a bunch, and you guys are the bestest ever.
Right.
And old man. I'm not saying how old. I'm really immature. Does that help? That's my line. It's, you know, I may be old, but I'm really immature, so it kind of balances.
I understand.
I think somebody else used that line too, but honest to God, I thought I made it up years ago.
Somebody keeps attacking me with, why don't you grow up someday? Because I grew up too young.
That's right. So you're having your second childhood.
Well, I don't know about that. I think it's the first one. Some days are worse than others.
Well, I hear you. So yeah, that was yesterday. I turned another year older, but I haven't noticed the wiser part yet. I'm still waiting for that to happen.
You know, I really don't believe that happens.
When did they mail that one out?
with your what is it, the double A?
No, yeah, the double AC. Well, no, I don't know. ARP,
ARP, that's it. AARP, yeah.
Yeah, I was not
With your ARP card.
NAACP. No, I'm not a member of that apparently. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So I turned a year older, and it's a great week. It's Hump Day's Eve, Wednesday night. So you are one step closer to the weekend, and you are joining us here on the portal.
Live.
So life is good. Yeah, live. This is not a rebroad or a pre-broad or
not
anything.
Yet. Not yet. It is May 2nd, you know.
Hey, Renee. Good to see you. I like that when people say, you know, when they're talking to me in the chat and they say Paranormal Portal, it just turns orange and comes right up on my screen,
right,
so I can't miss it. It's really awesome. So if you're talking to me, saying Brent is probably going to not get noticed as well as, but I can't ignore that that Paranormal Portal font. That's awesome. So anyway, tonight's show is going to be about near-death experiences. And I just came across this. I'd heard about this a few days ago, that they finally did this study and proved this science. Now, this science and this theory is not new, ladies and gentlemen. I think it comes from the 40s or 50s originally when they came up with this in animals. However, they've just recently conducted studies that show that this actually was true in human beings as well. And what it is it's the article is called "Scientists Found That the Soul Doesn't Die. It Goes Back to the Universe." And let me read to you what is going on here, because I thought this was fantastic. And the reason I'm presenting this is because, quite frankly, the people that have had near-death experiences, there's two camps. There's the camp that say, wow, that's incredibly beautiful and profound, and it really shows that the human soul lingers and continues. And then there's the other camp that's like, well, it's a neurochemical reaction to the excess amount of DMT produced at the state of dying, and you're hallucinating, and it's the body's way of making you calm before it ends, you know? And so it's really nice to see this, and I'm really encouraged by this. But let me read this to you, and you guys can tell me what you think. But I think that, if anything, this research really seems to suggest that the first camp may very well be the right one, and I sure hope so. I mean, I believe this, but other people, you know, everybody has their own opinions. But here we go. It turns out that the human brain could be similar to a biological computer, and that the human consciousness may be like a program which is run by a quantum computer within the brain. What's even more astonishing is that after someone dies, their soul comes back to the universe, and it does not die. This is all according to American physicist Dr. Stuart Hameroff and mathematician physicist Sir Richard Penrose, both of whom argue that the soul is maintained in microtubules of brain cells. The two scientists refer to this process as orchestrated objective reduction, or ORC-OR. Allegedly, when the human beings are clinically dead, microtubules in the brain lose their quantum state, but are still able to retain the information inside of them. This theory was recently outlined in the Science Channel's ongoing documentary show Through the Wormhole, in which Dr. Hameroff elaborates. Let's say the heart stops beating and the blood stops flowing. The microtubules lose their quantum state. The quantum information within the microtubules is not destroyed. it can't be destroyed, and it just distributes and dissipates to the universe at large. If the patient is resuscitated, revived, this quantum information can go back into the microtubules, and the patient says, I had a near-death experience. If they're not revived, the patient dies, and it's possible that this quantum information can exist outside the body, perhaps indefinitely, as a soul. Hameroff's words suggest the human souls are much more than mere interactions of neurons in the brain. In fact, this theory indicates that these souls could have existed since the beginning of time itself. And with all the recent discoveries pertaining to dark energy and dark matter, substances which humans cannot see or interact with, but substances with which we know exist nevertheless, this theory could end up explaining things that are even more mysterious and fascinating. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's nothing short of profound.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's great to see. And this has always been my belief, is that the more that science figures out, the more it's going to prove what people have believed for millennia, for time immemorial. You know, it's just time, forever. People have believed that we have a soul, that when we die, that this energy part of ourself will persist in the universe and will live on into eternity. And so it's nice to see that sometimes scientists are I don't know, just in such a place that they can go, yeah, it turns out that this may be actually true. And I don't ever allow science the authority to tell me what does or doesn't exist. And that sounds like I'm putting myself in a bubble, and I'll only accept those things I agree with. But it's really not that. It's just that science is an extraordinarily young entity in the terms of the cosmic realities, as far as we know them, our sciences.
Right.
I'm not saying that there couldn't, exist these massively advanced beings and civilizations that have been around for millions of years and are so far above and beyond what we can even understand. But what I'm saying is that wherever we came from, we lived in a state of Stone Age reality for a whole long time. Then we started carving tools into, out of bronze and et cetera. But our understanding of the mechanics of the universe, the mechanics of the natural world around us is very, very young. And in my lifetime, I've seen people invent things that were the new miracle something, and then the next week they are don't do them because they're horrible. you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, DDT is great. It'll kill all these nasty bugs, and it doesn't hurt the plants.
Do you remember them spraying those commercials? Did you see those?
Which ones?
With the DDT?
Oh, yeah.
Back in the 50s, early 60s.
I wasn't alive then, but...
Well, but I saw them. So
did you? Okay.
Yeah, they would like take these big foggers and these kids in a municipal pool, and they just fogged them with this DDT.
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, look, this is how safe it is. We're going to dose our kids with lethal amounts of DDT.
Did Jimmy always have that arm out his ear?
Well, no, but I'm worried about the eye.
When he get gills.
Well, he was in a swimming pool when they doused him.
Yeah, that's scary as hell.
Yeah.
And then there's things like asbestos. It's like, oh, it's this great insulator. It's like, yeah. So this is the state of our science. It's like, we're willing to jump onto anything. And now there's 5G coming out. It's like they're going to push 5G out regardless of any health hazards because... Yeah. And they've said that blatantly, like, we're not even waiting for testing. We're getting this out there. It's like, really?
You cook your brain inside your head.
So forgive me if I don't, subscribe to the whole dialogue of science, because when it's done correctly, it can be a wonderful thing. But
it can also kill you.
Well, I think what the recent, awakening has proven more than anything is that science can be bought. Science is purchased. It's funded. It's funded, which means I'm going to pay you a lot of money to make sure you see it this way, Yeah. And then it becomes scientific fact until it can be proven wrong.
It's kind of like political situations.
Right, exactly. And it's environmental, it's business, and when science is a business,
commodity.
Right. It's not the authority that it pretends to be. Right. And this is in the medical field again. You know, there's all kinds of things in the medical field that are questionable, you know.
You think?
Yeah, exactly. It just goes on and on and on. So it's really nice when some scientists will step forward and start, to speak to these truths. And I believe that they're true. So it's not that I'm isolating myself against that which I don't agree with. It's just I haven't seen science do much of. I mean, it's extraordinary the amount of discovery and the amount of progress that's been made. I love technology and I love what we can do and what we're learning and all of that. But at the same time, I don't think it's the authority it should be because we can't trust it yet.
Right.
So that's all I'm saying. So I don't lend all these things a whole bunch of credibility until it's thoroughly proven.
Yeah.
So.
I understand. Because as a matter of fact, somebody just came out, somebody big, Robert Kennedy, came out and said, denounced the whole vaccination thing.
Yes. Yep.
And that was just recently. And, and then we have, we have doctors and naturopaths just dropping dead left and right for no apparent reason.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because that, they're of the awakening, and people realize, and as a matter of fact, today I saw that lettuce weed. I saw this thing about lettuce weed and how it's nature's perfect morphine replacement.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
It showed you how to, make this into, a concentrated liquid that you can take just like any, it's nature, it's milk,
Sure.
it's a lettuce weed.
Okay.
And it apparently it's a fantastic pain reliever.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they said it's like nature's morphine. So,
Huh.
that's part of the awakening, though, is remembering what we've forgotten because we've been told for so long now that since after World War II, with the New Deal. Well, actually, no. Yeah, let's go back to the New Deal. Let's go back to FDR. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. You can trust us.
Yeah.
You can trust us. You can trust us.
Yeah.
And now we're reawakening to all these things that
we couldn't trust.
Exactly.
we realized how much we couldn't trust. Yeah.
But near-death experiences. People have been reporting them for forever.
Yeah.
And now science is actually saying, according to that that memory, that information lives on through the collective cosmic consciousness, shall we say?
Sure. And
in an NDE situation, you have the memory of coming back,
right,
and being revived from that. So
yeah. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go through some stories of people that have had NDEs,
right.
And to me, what that study does is it maybe reinforces the idea that what these people experience is very real, because there are the skeptics and there are the people that would say it's just a lunatic's belief,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. So it's nice to see some science to back up a spiritual claim, because of course the people that have had NDEs and these experiences, it's nothing short of miraculous.
Right.
These people are absolutely transformed in many ways. Oh, snap. My page just said, oh, snap. That's
okay.
Chrome, whenever it poops the bed, it always says, oh, snap.
404.
No, it wasn't even that. It's just, oh, snap, with a sad folder on it. It's like, thanks, Google. So we're going to go through some NDEs here and see what you guys think. But if you're not familiar with NDE, it's just the acronym for near-death experience. And I've read a bunch about this, and I think that they're incredibly profound. I read books by Raymond Moody, a doctor that did whole studies on the near-death experience phenomenon, the NDE phenomenon, and he I've covered it on other shows as well. That he specialized in NDEs, but he focused on children because he figured that children wouldn't have the preconceived notions. They wouldn't have the preconceived symbolism that the
Right.
adults would have. So what do they experience? And what he found was there was a definite correlation between what they saw and what adults saw. So it wasn't just symptomatic of a belief system or a structured belief or a religious belief. It was just these people all experienced these very similar things. And so we're going to go through these and see what you guys think. So the first one that we're going to cover is this it? Yeah. Okay, so this is Anita Moorjani's NDE. I think it's Moorjani, Nde, and her amazing recovery from terminal cancer and a coma. And it looks like she's written a book as well. It's Anita Morgiani, Dying to Be Me. So if you're interested in learning more about that, definitely look up that book, Dying to Be Me. I'm going to blow this up. I was going to start, but I was like, no, I don't want to wrestle with this. All right. So let me see what's Dying to Me is all about here. Nice sidebar. Okay. Anita Morgiani is an ethnic Indian woman from Hong Kong who had end-stage cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and was being cared for at home. But on the morning of February 2nd, 2006, she did not wake up. She had fallen into a coma. Doctors said she would not make it beyond the next 36 hours since her organs were no longer functioning, and her body had started to swell up, creating open skin lesions. In spite of this, Anita saw and heard the conversations between her husband and the doctors that were taking place outside of her room about 40 feet away down a hallway. She also saw her brother on a plane, having heard the news that she was dying, coming to see her. Both things were later confirmed. Then she claims to have crossed over to another dimension where I was engulfed in total feeling of love. I also experienced extreme clarity of why I had cancer, why I had come into this life in the first place, and what role everyone in my family played in my life in the grand scheme of things, and generally how life works. I realized what a gift this life was, and that I was surrounded by loving spiritual beings who were always around me even when I did not know it. I found out that my purpose now would be to live heaven on earth, using this new understanding, and also to share this knowledge with other people. In her now famous book, Dying to Be Me, Anita explains how she had the choice of whether to come back into life or go towards death. I became aware that if I chose life, my body would heal very quickly. I then started to understand how illnesses start on an energetic level before they become physical. I became aware that everything going on in our lives was dependent upon this energy around us, created by us. Nothing was real. We created our surroundings, our conditions, etc. Depending on where this energy was at. I chose life. The results would show that my organs were functioning normally. If I chose death, the results would show organ failure as the cause of death due to cancer. I was able to change the outcome of the tests by my choice. I made my choice, and as I started to wake up in a very confused state, as I could not at the time tell which side of the veil I was on, the doctors came rushing into this room with big smiles on their faces, saying to my family, "Good news, we got the results and her organs are functioning. We can't believe it." After that, I began to recover rapidly. Doctors were quite surprised, and once Anita became stable, they started tracking down the lymph nodes they saw when she entered the hospital. Tests had shown swollen lymph nodes and tumors the size of lemons extending from the base of her skull all the way to her lower abdomen.
Wow.
But doctors found none. They did a bone marrow biopsy again to find the cancer activity so they could adjust the chemotherapy according to the disease, but there wasn't any in the bone marrow. Because they were unable to understand what was going on, they made her undergo test after test after test, all of which Anita passed easily. She then had a full-body scan because they could not find anything, and they made the radiologist repeat it again and again. Because of my experiences, I am now sharing this with everyone I know, that miracles are possible in your life every day. After what I have seen, I realize that absolutely anything is possible, and that we did not come here to suffer. Life is supposed to be great, and we are very, very loved. The way I look at life has changed dramatically, and I am so glad to have been given a second chance to experience heaven on earth. That is absolutely profound. Very profound. So again, that's Dying to Be Me. Looks like an amazing book to check out. Now this one is a neurosurgeon's NDE, trying to prove consciousness is independent from the brain, which that study that has just come out has proven that it's nanotubulars. Tubules. I don't know how I read it so well the first time, and now I'm like, I don't know. My tongue just turned into a pickle.
Wow.
All right. Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon from Duke University, is the famous author of the New York Times bestselling autobiographical book, Proof of Heaven, A Neurosurgeon's Journey into the Afterlife, from 2012. And I read this, not this book, but I read interviews with this guy after it had happened, and pretty impressive, his story, in which he asserts that his out-of-body near-death experience, NDE, while in a meningitis-induced coma in 2008, proves that consciousness is independent of the brain, that death is an illusion, and that an eternity of perfect splendor awaits us beyond the grave. Thank God. Sorry, that's me just ad-libbing here. Complete with angels, clouds, and departed relatives, but also including butterflies and beautiful girls in peasant dress.
Oh, sign me up.
Hold on, guys.
I'll be right back.
We'll be back after these messages. Maybe.
72 virgins.
Yeah.
Hopefully they won't be back, though.
We regret to inform you the passing of Don Longbeard. All right. According to him, the current understanding of the mind now lies broken at our feet. For what happened to me destroyed it, and I intend to spend the rest of my life investigating the true nature of consciousness and making the fact that we are more, much more than our physical brains as clear as I can, to both my fellow scientists and the people at large. Alexander's book was excerpted in a Newsweek magazine cover story in October 2012, and that's where I read it. But according to his critics, his NDE was not during his coma, but as he was resurfacing from the coma and his cortex was returning to full function. Oh, yeah. It is curious that he does not allow this obvious and natural explanation, but instead insists on the supernatural one. The author responded, the only isolated pockets of deep cortical neurons were still sputtering, but no broadband networks capable of generating anything like what we call consciousness were.
Wow.
And that's awesome that he can actually, he's actually learned enough to stand toe-to-toe with that, right, and say, well, no, this is why.
Absolutely.
So,
because they just wanted him to shut up and accept the fact that tunnel of light is the neurons in your eyes are, everything just closing up, and you're seeing this brightness from, the death of the eyes, and things like that. They just want him to shut up.
You know what I don't understand is why do the critics cling so hard to it? It's like,
I have so many answers I can't.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, everybody wants to be right, but you know what I mean? It's like, right, what do they gain by demolishing people's hope?
They gain 15 seconds of fame. Yeah,
I suppose it's an ego thing after all, but why not let people believe it? If you don't agree with it, that's fine. It's this imperative that some people have that I have different knowledge and you need to know all about it. And I'm going to show how stupid your knowledge is.
Not only that, but I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah. It's just
really craziness.
Unbelievable. But Obaki's talking about an Asian roach in chat. So.
Actually, they've been talking about a spider for about 10 minutes now.
Wow. Sure glad we're here working through stories.
Yeah.
Should we just look for stories on spiders, maybe?
Near-death experiences of spiders tonight at 9.
So,
give him eye of life. He'll come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Or he'll dream.
Yeah. There you
Pixie
go.
says she's listening.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's good to know.
Renee seems to be listening too. So there you go.
Well, I don't demand your attention, but
if we get it, that's better.
Yeah, it's always a perk when it matters that we're here talking.
Well, you got him re-engaged.
That's like the
except Obaki,
the proverbial dragging my fingers on the chalkboard. Yeah, exactly. The next one is 90 Minutes in Heaven, the story of Reverend Don Piper. So let's see what Don's got to say. Another Don.
Oh, the other Don. Sorry,
not you. We're always privy to what you have to say because we give you a microphone.
Dribbles out of my mouth onto this beautiful little microphone.
Yeah, there you go.
That's why we have Yeah.
So in 1989, Reverend Don Piper of Pasadena, California, was traveling in a car when it was crushed by an 18-wheeler in a head-on crash. Ooh, that's brutal. Paramedics declared him dead. He was without a pulse, he says, for 90 minutes before he came back to life after a passerby began to pray and sing hymns over his body. The steering wheel impaled me in the chest, and then the car's roof collapsed on my head, so there's just no way you could survive this accident, he says. However, he says that the experience he had before rejoining the living could not be explained as anything other than life after death. He says he remembers music that was beyond spectacular. I wonder if he heard feline.
Or emotional buffet.
Yeah. Perhaps he was watching the portal. And
Certainly looking at one.
Yeah. And aromas that he'd never smelled before. His grandfather was there to greet him alongside several others who had died before him. They all stood in front of a magnificent gate with lights that were pulsating with life. He said, "You know, if I was having a dream about it, this wouldn't be in it." He said, "Some of these people who met me at the gates, I haven't thought about in decades." Mr. Piper, who endured dozens of surgeries to fix his bones, had to learn to walk again, and he wrote about the trauma in the New York Times bestseller 90 Minutes in Heaven, a true story of death and life. He believes he was sent back to spread the message that heaven is a real place. Well, that's fantastic. You know, I believe there's a wonderful place waiting for us. But
Yeah.
all right, so this is interesting, and I thought maybe this was. I don't know if this one was. I thought it was debunked, but I don't know. I'll read it anyway. I hope not, because I don't like to hear that people are creating hoaxes. But a 4-year-old's NDE and his encounter with Jesus riding a rainbow-colored horse. A New York Times bestselling Christian book, Heaven is for Real, 2010, is the father's account of his son Colton's trip to heaven and back. After discovering that Colton's appendix had ruptured, he was rushed to the hospital, unconscious. The boy alleges to have met Jesus, God, his great-grandfather, whom he had never met, and his older sister, who was lost in a miscarriage, but nobody had told him about. Colton also made other extra-biblical claims that he personally met Jesus riding a rainbow-colored horse, and he sat in Jesus' lap, all the while the angels sang songs to him. He also says that he saw the Virgin Mary kneeling before the throne of God, and at other times standing beside Jesus. And that's pretty much all they say about that. But,
Well, that goes right, and that goes back to what you were saying earlier about the experiments or examinations, shall we say, of that doctor and the children having
Dr. Moody,
yeah.
Raymond Moody, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that would be the kind of case study he would have worked with, but I don't know if he's still around or what. I'm not sure. But here we go. Elizabeth Taylor's NDE and her encounter with a dead ex-husband.
Yeah, which one?
I'm not sure.
Can you count that high?
Apparently, there was only one there to meet her.
The only one that could possibly stand her.
I guess.
I digress. I'm sorry.
We're probably going to burn in hell,
I'm driving the bus. Let's hop. Here comes Dawn on the dead bus.
Yeah. All right. Interviewed by Larry King on CNN's Larry King Live, and also by ABC News, now our famous actress Elizabeth Taylor spoke about her experience of dying on the operating table while undergoing surgery and of passing through a tunnel towards a brilliant white light. Taylor said that while she was clinically dead, she had an encounter with the spirit of Michael Todd, one of her former husbands. It says one of her former husbands.
One of her former husbands.
Whom she referred to as her great love.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, great.
That's good.
She meant something to him.
Yeah,
no,
apparently.
He meant something to her.
Yeah. She had wanted to stay with Todd, she said, but he had told her that she had work and life ahead of her, and he pushed me back to my life. Following her resuscitation, the 11-person medical team, including doctors, nurses, etc., witnessed Taylor's testimonial of this event. I was pronounced dead once and actually saw... I was pronounced dead once and actually saw the light, and I find it very hard to talk about, actually, because it sounds so corny. It happened to me in the late 50s, and I saw Mike Todd, Taylor's third husband, who was killed in a plane crash in 1958. When I came to, there were about 11 people in the room, and I'd been gone for about 5 minutes. They had given up for dead. They had given me up for dead and put my death notice on the wall. I shared this with the people that were in the room next to me. Then after that, I told another group of friends, and I thought, wow, this sounds really screwy. I think I better keep quiet about this. That's the whole story.
A team of 11 people.
Well, she's famous. I mean, of course they're going to flood the place.
Yeah, that's.
They need a lot of witnesses because if they lose a famous celebrity,
yeah,
there's got to be a lot of corroboration.
No doubt, no doubt. And another thing is that he told her she has a lot of work to do. What, with diamonds and whiskey? I'm sorry, that's diamonds and rust. No, I meant whiskey. Oh, jeez.
There you have it. This is George Rodonia's NDE after being killed by the KGB.
Wow.
And lying dead for 3 days.
Wow.
Ooh, that's
ripe.
That's a heck of a story. Let's check this one out.
Basement meat.
Pronounced dead immediately after he's hit by a car in 1976 while trying to leave the URSS. Is that right? I thought it was USSR. It says URSS.
Huh.
Rodonia was left for 3 days in the morgue. He did not return to life until a doctor began to make an incision in his abdomen as part of an autopsy procedure. Prior to his NDE, he worked as a neuropathologist. He was also an avowed atheist. However, after the experience, he devoted himself exclusively to the study of spirituality, taking a second doctorate in the psychology of religion. He then became an ordained priest in the Eastern Orthodox Church. He served as a pastor at the St. Paul United Methodist Church in Baytown, Texas. At this point, Reverend George Rodonia held an MD and a PhD in neuropathology and a PhD in psychology of religion. He delivered his keynote address to the United Nations on the emerging global spirituality before emigrating to the United States from the Soviet Union in 1989. He worked as a research psychiatrist at the University of Moscow. Dr. Rodonia's experience, in his own words, can be read in Philip Berman's book, The Journey Home. He died in 2004. Huh. Well, he doesn't really say what happened, but, oh wow, look at this. The oldest NDE on record, written by Plato in 380 BC. Here you go. It goes all the way back to then.
Wow.
Wow. The oldest surviving explicit report of an NDE in Western literature comes from the famed Greek philosopher Plato, who in the year 380 BC described such an event in the 10th book of his legendary work entitled Republic. Although it's called the myth of Er, the word myth in this case means word, speech, account, rather than the modern meaning. The story begins as a man named Er dies in battle. 10 days later, when the bodies of those who died in battle are collected, Er's body was not decomposed. 2 days later, he revives on his funeral pyre and tells others of his journey into the afterlife, including an account of reincarnation and the celestial spheres of the astral plane. The tale introduces the idea that moral people are rewarded and immoral people are punished after death. The story includes an account of the cosmos and the afterlife that influenced religious, philosophical, and scientific thought for many centuries. Sorry, I just kind of fumbled through that last sentence completely. But some cool accounts there.
It was nice hearing that one about Plato, though. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's one of those things. It just solidifies the idea that it's happened forever.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, exactly. So Plato actually wrote about it.
Yeah, so.
And it's funny to hear the word myth used to mean something different.
Wow.
All those mythos.
Mm-hmm. Hey, to all the people that are watching, hit that like button.
How many likes we got?
We only have 6, but we have 17 watching, you guys. Come on.
17 of you. Come on, folks.
Come on, we got to hit that tipping point and make it bigger, better, and greater.
I do kind of miss the whole ability of people to call in, though.
Yeah.
People in the chat room saying anything we need to address?
Yeah. Dee Dee Swiggers said she had her NDE 32 years ago.
Ooh.
And then Dawn mentioned that she had an OBE
Out of body experience.
when she was very, very sick when she was 6.
Ooh.
She said she had double pneumonia.
Oh,
and she
geez.
remembers herself standing on the trunk of the car as she's riding to the hospital in the back seat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oof. That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Well, I'm glad you guys have had those experiences. I can't
I'm
imagine.
glad you're still here with us.
Yeah.
Let's start with the first one. But no, we need to hear about those. People need to write us. And yeah, and unfortunately, as you said, the number's dead tonight. So
Yeah, there is no number tonight, so unfortunately we can't call in. I wish you could, but we don't have a phone line that's dedicated to the network, so that's only good on Friday, Saturday nights. But
yeah.
you know, if there's something you want to add to the show, put it in the chat room and tell Don to mention it. He's always watching the chat, so we'll see it if it comes up. But you can participate. It's just not as dynamic as our Friday, Saturday shows. We'll have to see what we can do about that someday. But for now, it's the only option we got, ladies and gentlemen. Right, Don?
Correct, sir. Yes, boss.
You know what I'm saying, Don?
I do.
Okay, good.
We's all up in that.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are also, just to put it out there, Don's been putting a lot of work into this, and he's doing a really great job.
Thank you.
We're now on DTube as well. Paranormal Portal is on DTube, and it's essentially a newer, I don't know, YouTube competitor, I guess.
Yeah.
So we're just getting our footprints out there as many places as we can, and so far we're on MeWe, we're on DTube. So those are kind of the Facebook/YouTube alternates out there. But, of course, we are on YouTube, as you know, because that's where you're watching us.
That's where we are right now, loving every minute of it.
We do. And, you know, YouTube's been fantastic, and we are moving towards, you know, getting to be able to monetize this experience as well, which is really exciting because...
Daddy needs a new computer.
Absolutely. We need a whole lot of things. You know, we're going to... In the very near future, Don and I are going to be hitting the field and doing some investigating and such. And so, you know, with that comes a hefty price tag. So if we can find some, we need to find a sponsor, Don. That's what we need.
Yeah, we do.
Brought to you by George's Paranormal Stuff.
Stuff.
If you need paranormal stuff, you come talk to George.
All up here in North Idaho.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's, you know, the one thing about this area is that it's got a lot of history. It's
eclectic. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, they've got, you know, because the building of the railroad that goes right through town.
Yeah.
You know, and all of that. You know, there's graveyards, abandoned graveyards everywhere. And actually, shout out to Julia. She seems to be the one finding them. She sent us 2 now.
Thank you, Julia, for that. Is she in the chat room, by the way?
She is not.
She's not in. Okay.
So that means that everybody has to tell her that we mentioned her on the show.
Yeah. Well, you're right, Lewis. Dan Pruitt will definitely be a mentor for us. You know, we certainly we are very blessed to have contact with so many experts in so many fields, and you know, we will lean on friends like Obake as well when we're getting into these investigations, and to Sean and Dee as well, and Deb.
Absolutely.
Anybody that we've worked with is, you know, has added to our toolbox in an immense way. And as I've said before, Dan will be working with us, putting together some best practice videos as far as paranormal research, things to do, things to don't, and common mistakes. And those will be coming up as well sometime in the near future, just because it's something that, you know, Dan is learned enough to be an authority on the subject, and we definitely want to bring you guys whatever knowledge we can, because if anything, the internet's full of bad information. It's just full of bad information, and there's a lot of people doing it wrong.
Yeah. Instigators, not investigators.
Well, yeah, it's just make a noise, make a noise. I challenge you. Okay, I got to go home.
Poke,
see you later.
Poke. Oh, look, the bear is awake.
Meanwhile, Timmy and his mom come home from the store, and yeah, the couch is moving.
Not only that, but you have that roar coming from your basement.
Yeah, the roar from your basement, and your clothes are flying out of your dresser. Yeah, it's that kind of stuff. So we definitely want to do it right, and you know, we certainly won't, you know, do it in a bubble. We'll definitely utilize the tools and resources that we have. but we want to bring you those videos as well. So that will obviously come with a price tag that will have to incur a bunch of expense. So when YouTube can work for us, we'll be a little happier.
And we can work better for you.
Ooh, that was well done.
I know, huh?
Nice.
I have moments of inspiration.
Nice play there.
Thank you.
Nice. It was like the deep pass to the end zone. All right.
Fumbled at the last second.
No, you just did
Look,
not.
his foot is out of bounds. He didn't make it across the line.
No officiating. It was a touchdown.
Flag on the play.
All right, so we will continue the NDE journey that we're on here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope you're enjoying this. I know that this is a subject that I find absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And again, the idea, I mean, having a faith that life continues is a very, very powerful thing. But when you have people experiencing that very thing, it just means so much to me personally. You know, I really have a firm faith, but I'm human. There's times when I'm like, what if there is nothing?
Well, you have to.
What if?
You have to question.
You know,
that.
and those are horrible feelings, though.
But,
it feels absolutely horrible. So then I read things like this, and it's like, yeah, I was right all along. Pfft, whatever. There's a lot out there, and you know. But I mean, being human, we question things, and it's in our nature, and maybe that's what makes us great. But it's great to read these things, and find out that there is something else. So. Let me just pull up the next one here. Wow, look at that font, Tom. What is that, like 2-point font?
I think that's 2.2. Just slightly bigger.
Ah, the life of a host, ladies and gentlemen, when you got to read things on a screen. Okay. This is an excerpt from a book, Life After Suicide.
Wow.
And, of course, suicide is absolutely horrible. And just as a public service announcement, if you're in that place, call somebody, get some help. Somebody loves you. There's a suicide hotline out there, and there's lots of people that are willing to help. So if you get to that place, you're not alone. Hell, email me. I'll call you myself. I just it's such a horrible, horrible thing. And to be in that dark of a place, that seems like your only option. But anyway, let me continue here. I just feel like you have to say things like that,
Yeah.
because it's people when they're so sad and so broken and so lonely, it just seems like nobody cares. But I promise you, I care. I know Don cares. We're here.
We talk about these things between us.
All the time. Yeah.
And, the worries of the world, and we are each other's. I hope I could say. I'm going to say this. He is my leaning post when I need someone.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've been nothing but a help for me, brother.
I appreciate that.
But, it's just such a sad, sad thing. I just can't, I've been to some pretty dark places myself, and I would be lying if I said that the idea didn't cross my mind. But it only took like 2 seconds to go, no, wait, you
got too much.
Right. And there's too many people that I need to be here for.
Right.
But, maybe everybody doesn't have that, but I'm here for you if you need me, folks. So let's continue this journey, and I'll read this story. But I just think anytime you hear the word suicide, it hits me right in the heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I died after taking poison. I decided to do the deed early. That was what I called it in my mind, the deed. I didn't expect to be returning, and I certainly did not know what to expect. The first 3 ounces of poison killed me. I died, and as I died, I felt many strange things that were very hard to describe. Most of all, the sight of the true and living God. I died and felt my soul or spirit, whichever you prefer, leaving my body. And as I left my body, I felt no remorse over the loss of my body. It actually felt good to me to... Jesus Christ. I just felt something tickling my face, and it was a freaking bug. Son... What? Yeesh.
Watch your mouth. He's getting ready to curse like Sailor Jury.
I was about to go full sailor there, folks.
Never go full sailor live online.
I know. I was like, how is my cord up on my cheek? It's down here. But I'm like,
you cheeky dog.
I hit it, and then suddenly it was gone, and I felt something hit my leg. And I looked down, and it's crawling down my leg. Yes, it's summer here in North Idaho, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't mind me while I have a bean moment.
Yeah, well.
gosh, funny.
Yeah, it was creepy funny, but no, I mean, I'm not like one of those weird people that bug out from bugs.
Bug out.
But I mean, it's. I thought it was a cord, and then when I reached up and it wasn't a cord, that's what's.
D says you're scaring yourself.
Yeah. I don't even know what kind of bug it is. That's the worst part. It's
a paranormal bug.
It is now. All right, so
it's a paranormal pest.
It says, I did not go to heaven or hell, and I did not find my soul wandering the earth. I died and found myself in the arms and the hands of the one true living God. God allowed me to see him, touch him, and to be touched. Then God put me back in my body while healing what I had done to my body. When I died, my spirit passed through my body, and my spirit passed through a Bible that was lying in my chest. I lay down to die with my prayers in my heart and the Bible sitting on my chest, simply waiting to die. My spirit came out of my body and found God waiting to catch me. I died in faith, searching for God and Jesus. I died living out our Savior's words and picking up your cross and following him even unto death itself. I died in search of Jesus. When I died, I found them waiting. God did what I described here, and so much more that is indescribable. As God put me back into my body, God's hand passed through the Bible that was sitting on my chest. Later, after I told my wife this story, I gave her that Bible. It is as rare as God himself. The supernatural events continue to take place in my life, and I understand things and what has happened to me less and less each day. This book or story is just a conversation with someone that has experienced a living mystery, and that person, meaning myself, is trying to explain what happened as best I can, trying to explain something I do not understand to people that have never died. And his book is available online. So it's Life After Suicide by Christopher King.
I'm members of these, NDE Facebook pages, Wisdom Through NDE Experiences, things like that.
Uh-huh.
And, every now and then somebody will ask, why does nobody report going to hell?
They do.
Well, it's very, very rare.
It is.
But, a lot of what I see, a lot of what I read, people experience what they expect or how they've lived. So if you lived as a good person in general as best you can, and you believe that there's something out there more heavenly than you are, then that's what you're going to experience. Now, I'm just relaying what I've read, and I may be relaying it incorrectly as well. But, this is what I've seen. And so if you expect to go to hell and you've been that way, then you may see hell. But most reports that I see are always some kind of a, not God or Jesus, but heavenly, but warm and caring and enveloping and that kind of thing. So, to hear, a suicide NDE and come back and fix everything, I think that's the way it's supposed to work. Mm. You're supposed to come back and do something, other than drink whiskey and play with white diamonds.
Indeed. Well, it could be, I don't know. I guess it's, there's the idea, does it follow your paradigm?
Yeah.
Do you see what you expect?
Yeah.
Because that's what you're expecting. I've heard that argument, and I don't know. I mean, it's possible. I guess there's plenty of people that have NDEs and have not seen what they expected to see as well. And I don't know. It's a very, bizarre.
Yeah. I would have to say so.
It seems to be just whatever it is, and it varies from person to person to a degree. Now, many things people all experience or seem to more commonly experience, like some will hear a tone, some will see colors, and then the tunnel appears, and with the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, and then some people will meet religious figures, some people will meet deceased relatives, some people will meet both, some people will find themselves in a burnt out, very desolate place,
right.
that would seem to be kind of like a purgatory, if you will.
Right.
Other people have seen what they consider to be the furnace of hell, with souls basting in it, and all kinds of torment, and I don't know. It's doesn't seem to be a universal experience. So there seems to be quite a diversity to the experiences, but they all seem to involve a tunnel. They all seem to involve, this not being your time, whether they're being told this or whether they have an intuition of this.
Right.
And then suddenly they feel themselves thrust back down and landing, into their own body again.
Right.
I don't know. It's a pretty marvelous phenomenon.
Right.
I
I just hope that, and that seems to be the reason why a lot of people have the God or the heaven or the Jesus experience, or, that kind of thing is, because of the way they believe,
Mm-hmm. Well, it definitely stands to reason. I mean, what you're saying, what you're saying has logic to it, but, I don't know. I can see it in several different ways, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. I would say that would seem like the most plausible explanation for why people experience the Jesus figures and the Mary figures, and and what have you, because that if it aligned with their religious practice, then the transition would seem to embody those figures, because it would be a comfort to them.
Anthony LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan.
Yeah.
Supposedly he had, as he was dying, he said something to the effect of, no, that wasn't our agreement. That's not what's supposed to happen, and blah, 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 blah. And so it kind of makes you wonder with that paradigm and that thought, he believed in hell. He believed in Satan. And did he believe that Satan was going to hold up his end of the bargain? I mean, come on. Really? Okay, you're going to burn in a lake of fire, and if you sold your soul to the devil, that's just the way it is. There's always that fine print that you can't read,
Well, right, so. Yeah. I certainly wouldn't advocate selling your soul ever.
We're not doing it for the portal.
No. We are not. We're not selling out in any way, ladies and gentlemen.
Ouch.
So far, we're just doing it on our own blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
And not that we've been offered either. We haven't been offered to sell our soul either.
As
far as I know, I haven't done it.
We're not important enough. We're not important enough.
Yeah.
We're just not that grand on the scheme of things.
No, and that's fine. I would prefer never to have that offer.
Rent it occasionally, maybe.
Ooh.
A commercial or so.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's
a sponsor,
Absolutely. We'd be fine with sponsoring.
Being sponsored. Not sponsoring. Being sponsored.
Yeah, exactly. We'll sponsor free stuff. I don't even know what that means necessarily. I don't know. I'm just winging it, ladies and gentlemen.
Tonight's a great night.
It's always a great night here on the Portal, ladies and gentlemen, where the entertainment is free and the dialogue is sometimes confusing.
Charts.
Yeah, it's usually off the charts. Depends on your chart, but just come in with low expectations. That's all I can say.
And just be wowed that they let us two North Idahoans up here with microphones.
That's right. They just put microphones in front of us and we just fill them with noise.
So they said, "Here, just do something." Okay. So, hold my beer and watch this.
This one is Katie's NDE. And my name is Katie. I'm 16 years old, and like most people in this world, I've had my share of brushes with death. She's only 16? She's had brushes with death? Whoa. I have escaped death at least 5 times. Wow. I can remember 2 near-death experiences clearly. I have survived carbon monoxide poisoning when our home furnace just outside of my room caught fire.
Wow.
And have nearly drowned 4 times in 4 different places. That's a person that should never swim ever. And was once officially declared dead at the scene of one of the drownings, which was at a local pool. That was when I had my most vivid NDE. Wow. And the other one I can remember was when I nearly drowned in a flooded river. At the time of my death, I was 14 years old, and my 2 friends and I decided to go for a swim in mid-July, just a few weeks before my 15th birthday. We grabbed our swimsuits, towels, and sunscreen, the works, and hopped into my mom's van. She drove us to the pool and promised to be back to pick us up at around 4, 2.5 hours later. The three of us walked through the gate to get to the pool, put our stuff down next to some empty seats, and jumped into the deeper end of the pool. We played several water games, and at one point got a few other kids and played Marco Polo. I've always had a hard time holding my breath. The longest I've been able to stay underwater at a time is 16 seconds. Once my limit has been reached, my lungs seem to compress on themselves and then immediately open again, forcing me to breathe in, making it easier for me to choke on water. Thus, my several near-drowning experiences. Wow. Well, while we were playing Marco Polo, I dove underwater in an attempt to swim further away from my friend who was currently it. A boy who was also playing the game with us did the same thing. I went deeper than him, trying to avoid us bumping each other, but as I tried to come up for air, he swam over the top of me, blocking my way. I tried to swim around him, but I couldn't move fast enough, and I breathed in before I could get out of the way. Wow. At that moment, I felt a sense of, for lack of a better word, great relief. I could feel the water enter my lungs, but it didn't hurt like it usually does. It felt cool and refreshing. In a way, it felt cool and refreshing in a way. I looked around and I could see everyone swimming around, splashing each other, and I could hear faint Marco being called out, and a few polos answered. I looked to both sides of me and saw that I was still swimming, but when I looked down, I saw my body laying prostrate at the bottom of the pool. Almost as soon as I saw myself laying so still, I heard a rushing of water and saw my two friends swimming frantically towards my body. I surfaced the water and looked around once more beyond the pool. Just on the other side of the fence was this bright light. It was shaped like a person, and somehow I knew it was an angel, come to take me to my eternal home. The light offered me its hand, and I seemed to float out of the water, though float isn't really the right word for it. But as I rose, I looked down once more, knowing I was saying goodbye to my friends. In the few moments, or what felt like a few moments, since I had seen the light, they had managed to pull my body out of the water, and one was giving my body CPR while a lifeguard rushed towards them. He immediately took over, and after he pushed on my chest a few times, I turned back to face the light, and it had grown dimmer. So I could now see both my grandfather and grandmother, both dead, standing behind it. They smiled and stood still, and I smiled back. I took a few steps towards them, but they backed up. Though their mouths didn't move, I could hear them telling me to turn around and go back, that it wasn't my time, if I didn't want it to be. I looked back at the real world and heard an ambulance siren in the distance. My two friends were holding each other and sobbing, and the boy I mentioned earlier was sitting next to my body, paler than I had ever seen a person. I once again faced my grandparents and the light, now much further away than before. The light slowly took its hand back, no longer offering me the joy of the afterlife in heaven.
Wow.
I smiled sadly and nodded, knowing that I still had more to do in this world. Slowly I turned around and was sort of sucked back into my body. As soon as I entered myself once more, a wave of pain overtook me and I started coughing. I opened my eyes briefly and saw two friends still sobbing but smiling now. I saw the boy hovering over me, still as pale as could be. I closed my eyes and passed out, and woke up later in the hospital with pneumonia. That pale boy is now my boyfriend, and my friends and I haven't gone swimming together since.
Wow.
Now we go to the movies.
There you go.
All right.
Wow, that's a special friend right there, though.
Yeah, good solution.
Yeah, someone will keep you alive.
Yeah, if you can't breathe hold your breath underwater for more than 16 seconds, you shouldn't be swimming a whole lot.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's a dangerous thing. I'm not sure what that is. She got really small lungs or whatever, but I think that's about all I could hold my breath too. But didn't used to be the case. I used to swim like a fish. But anyway.
I still sink like a rock.
Well, that's just how I play guitar. No, I'm just kidding. Boom.
Free association time, folks.
Thank you. I'm here all night, ladies and gentlemen. The entertainment's free.
Oh,
right.
That's funny.
What?
Well, somebody asked in one of the NDE Facebooks, suicide NDE, you saw that it was positive. They're asking, did you see a positive? If so, link it. So I have not seen one suicide NDE video where the person has seen the light. So interesting. Wow.
Well, that one we read had.
Yeah.
So that was good. And not only the light, but the light.
Yeah,
like
the light.
God. So
Megatron.
surgery near-death experiences. Oof. I suppose, that's... hospitals are just tough places for spiritual energies. Oh.
Yeah, no doubt.
My mother had 4 near-death experiences spreading over 20 years during 4 periods of major surgery. The first time she described going towards a white light, she said it was like walking in the warm sunshine after being in the freezing cold. She described walking towards a doorway where the light shone, and as she was about to step through the doorway, she saw some of her deceased relatives, including my father. On her first and second journey, she saw my father, but he put his hand up and told her to go back as I still needed her. I was only 12 and 21 years old at the time. Her last 2 visits were within 2 weeks of each other when she had major surgery. The third time, she said my father tried to stop her, but she was determined to keep going until a voice told her it was not time. So she's like, hell with that, I'm done. Not yet, you're not. On the last journey, she didn't have to push past my father. She kept on going and described the feeling of such happiness and joy. She heard a voice say, you're welcome to come in, but your time is not yet. She described trying to get closer to the light, but she heard my voice. I was not present and didn't even know she had passed over. She said as much as she tried to ignore it, she couldn't. As soon as she turned her head slightly, everything had vanished. She finally passed over in August last year, 12 hours before she passed. She was in terrible agony, screaming and moaning. Oh, that's horrible. She had blood poisoning caused by golden staph. In desperation, I called her minister to see if he could say something that would calm her down. I had told her that if she wished to pass, she could, but when her minister said that I was happy to let her pass, she stopped moaning and fell into a deep sleep. I was called back to the hospital in the early hours of the morning, and as her breathing had been labored, I sat with her and talked about what a wonderful mom she had been, how lucky I was to have had her as a mother. And at 4 a.m., she opened her eyes and looked at me for several seconds and then fell into a peaceful sleep. At 6 a.m., I decided to go home for a while to the kids. The nurse said it would be days before she passed over. I had just got home 10 minutes after leaving her, and she had passed over. No sooner had she passed than we had orbs of light visiting our house. I had a ghostbuster, for lack of a better term, come to the house, and he was able to pick up the places where my daughters and I had seen the orbs and smelt her perfume. He confirmed that she was coming back to visit. We decided not to have the house cleansed, as we are happy to have her visit whenever she likes. I know through my own beliefs, but certainly after my mom's experiences, that there is life after death. My mother was very much a strict Christian, and I always grew up not believing in spirits being able to pass from one world to another at will, but I believe now I know that if my mom could come back to be of comfort, she would. That's really cool. The woman who wrote that was named Raywyn. I love that name. Raewyn. Raywyn. That's a cool name. Sorry. I just like those different names. Or that's the name she went by anyway for the story.
Well, it works.
It's a name of choice or birth name. I'm not sure which. So there you have it. MM's Nde is written by MM. Did you want to read one, Don? I'm sorry.
You know, I don't know if mine are as good as yours. But
Okay, just it gives us show a little variety.
Okay, well, let's do this. So this is
That way I can chat for a while.
Yeah, these are some case studies that have been written about. So I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of these out here. And I'm going to try to, not include names because I'm horrible with names, especially with this one I see right here. But the first name, the case of Robin of Texas City, Texas. And as I said, these are case studies, so these are written from the third person about that person. So there you go. The case of Robin of Texas City, Texas, illustrates the overwhelming sense of love experiencers often encounter in the light. Her near-death episode took place in a hospital when she was between 1 and 2 months of age. Okay, so there's memories of them going back too, so you can apparently remember them that early. Born prematurely and with the hyaline membrane disease, she was not expected to live. My first visual memory was looking forward and seeing a brilliant, bright light, almost like looking directly at the sun. The strange thing was that I could see my feet in front of me, as if I were floating in an upward vertical position. I do not remember passing through a tunnel or anything like that, just floating in this beautiful light. A tremendous amount of warmth and love came from the light. There was a standing figure in the light shaped like a normal human being, but with no distinct facial features. It was a masculine presence. The light I had described seems like it emanated from that figure. Light rays shone all around him. I felt very protected, safe, and loved. The figure in the light told me through what I now know to be mental telepathy that I must go back, that it's not my time to come here. I wanted to stay because I felt so full of joy and peace. The voice repeated that it wasn't my time. I had a purpose to fulfill, and I'd come back after I'd completed it. The first time my parents told me about my experience was right after I began to talk. At the time, I believed that what happened to me was something everyone experienced. I told my mom and dad about the big glass case I was in after I was born, and the figure in the light and what he said to me. They took my reference to the glass case, meaning the incubator. My father was a medical student at the time, and he had read a book about near-death experiences. From comparing the information in the book to what I told him, they decided that's what I was describing. My mom told me all of this years later when I brought the subject up again. I began attending church at the age of 5 and would look at a picture of Jesus in the Bible and tell my mom that's who was in the light. I still have many physical difficulties with my health because of being premature, but there's a strong need inside me that I should help others with what death is, and to talk to terminally ill patients. I was in the other world, and I know there's nothing to be afraid of after death. You know, that brings up, oh gosh, what's that guy's name? I listened to an Art Bell last week. What was the name of his book?
Art Bell's book?
No. The guy who, I'm trying to remember the guest that was on. But, you know, about having, well, it just goes all back to, you know, having that you're not done yet feeling, and then what you do afterwards when you get, oh, that's what it was. She said that, but there was a strong need inside of me to go help others with what death is and talk to terminally ill patients. That's what this other gentleman did. I'm trying to remember his name, and I should. It's kind of a little bit of a strange name, but I should be able to remember it, but I can't. But he was apparently kind of a bad guy, and he had I think he was struck with lightning twice.
Oh, geez.
While he was on the phone each time.
Geez. At different times or the same? Like
no,
two
different times.
Oh, wow.
2 different times. And he was on the phone 2 of those times, but he had actually been struck by lightning 3 times. This guy was a lightning rod.
Wow.
But he says that when he came back, he was a totally different person because, you know, he knew that there was something more out there. He knew that it was of light and love and things like that. And he went and he spent the rest of his life from that point on helping in hospices and terminally ill and things like that. And I find that to be a common thread as well. You know, people who have NDEs are out there really trying to comfort those who are on the cusp.
Well,
so,
you know, it seems that they do serve a very profound purpose in that, I mean, it's a witnessed event. So it's, you know, they seem to come back with this feeling of needing to spread that message that, look, it's going to be okay. Look, it's all right. There's something beautiful.
Of,
right. Yeah. And so without having that fear, you know, people fear death. We fear our own mortality. We fear the idea that we're not going to continue and that it'll end. And, you know, we feel that this is all we got. And it's such a beautiful thing to have the belief that, no, there's so much more. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the first snowflake in a blizzard of possibilities. And that's a very beautiful thing. So I'm glad that these people come back and they feel compelled to share their stories, and because it really gives a lot of people hope. And it certainly helps the suffering. If somebody's lost someone they love,
Right.
what a beautiful thought that, hey, they're okay. They're in a really good place. I mean, that's wonderful. And of course, religion does that as well. But this is just another affirmation. And I think that anything that reinforces the other is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, here, let me get to another one.
Okay.
This one's pretty good size. Okay, so, like I said, I'm going to try to avoid hard names. Also, I'm going to skip anyhow.
You could just use the first initial, like B says.
Yeah, there you go. I found that both adults and children occasionally report being greeted on the other side by animals, especially if favored pets have previously died. But it is the children who describe an animal heaven. Some even insisting that they must go through it before they can reach heaven, where the people are. Adult cases can be equally compelling. Several years ago, before his death, Bryce Bond, a famous New York City media personality turned parapsychologist, shared with me a story of what happened to him when he once collapsed after a violent allergic reaction to pine nuts and was rushed to the hospital. He remembered suddenly passing through a long tunnel towards a brilliant light. And then I hear a bark, and racing towards me is a dog I once had, a black poodle named Pepe. When I see him, I feel the emotional floodgate open. Tears fill my eyes. He jumps into my arms, licking my face. As I hold him, he is real, more real than I ever experienced him. I can smell him, feel him, hear his breath, and sense the great joy at being with me again. I put my dog on the ground, stepped forward to embrace my stepfather when a very strong voice is heard in my consciousness. Not yet, it says. I scream out, why? Then the inner voice says, what you have learned and whom you have helped. Then this inner voice says, what you have learned and whom you have... Oh, it's a question. What have you learned and whom have you helped? I am dumbfounded. The voice seems to be from without as well as within. Everything stops for a moment, and I think of what was asked of me. I cannot answer what I've learned, but I can answer who I have helped. I feel the presence of my dog around me as I ponder those two questions. Then I hear barking and other dogs appear. Dogs I once had. As I stand there for what seems to be an eternity, I want to embrace and be absorbed and merge. I want to stay. The sensation of not wanting to come back is overwhelming. Bryce is also greeted by all of his relatives who have passed on before him. He experiences these loved ones as somewhat younger in form and face than when he had seen them last, healthier and happier. He remembered racing backwards through the same tunnel he had entered when it was time to leave, and reviving in time to witness a hypodermic needle being plunged into his arm. I heard a voice say, welcome back. I never asked who said it, and I did not care. I was told by the doctor that I had been dead for over 10 minutes.
Wow.
So there you go. And you know what? Who was it that just lost their pet? It was Randy Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
And so I hope that people will pass that on to Randy Dawn to help her with the loss of her, I believe it was her cat.
Oh.
So they will be in heaven when you get there. Or at least they'll be the first stage of heaven as you're going there. So that's actually kind of a cool story.
You know, it's a legendary story, too. It's the Rainbow Bridge or something like that talks about our pets meeting us so that we can cross the Rainbow Bridge together. Into
I don't know, but that
eternity.
would be awesome.
Yeah, I know, because I've had some wonderful pets. And...
Yeah, I've had a couple I've kicked in the head. But, I mean, that'll probably come back to haunt me in a manner of speaking, But I loved them still the same. They're just silly pets.
Don's not heading towards the Rainbow Bridge.
Oh, God, no.
He's heading towards the Brimstone Path.
The Brimstone Path. Raining fire and brimstone.
Not at all. I'm sure you'll be just fine, brother. But yeah, pets are wonderful. I think dogs might be God's way of showing us a perfect love.
Yeah.
They can be dumb as bricks, and they can do the most stupid things.
Yep.
But nothing will ever love you like a dog, And I love my family, I love my children and all that, but dogs don't hold a grudge. They don't do anything. They're just like,
Right.
oh, please just pet me.
Yeah. Just rub me behind the
just
ear.
right there.
Release those endorphins, please.
Check this tummy out, will you, please? I can't reach it.
Does this look like a hickey?
What? I'm not even sure what the hell to say to that one, but I'll leave that all the way alone.
That's why you won't leave it alone.
Trust me, I will. But yeah, I think that pets are amazing.
Yeah.
They're
Integral.
They are, right. Or integral. They could be integral as well.
I'm gonna use the cord of my headphones.
Ah.
You want an NDE, mister? Here's one for you.
Yeah, well.
Lady Death says, if my dog wasn't there, it wouldn't be heaven.
That's right. Yeah, I've had a wonderful German Shepherd dog, and it was just, she was my only companion, and she drove me nuts, and she gave me rage several times, but she was always loving and always amazing and always there. And sometimes when I was alone, that was the one thing that really helped make it, bearable. Right, yeah. So animals and cats are incredibly loving and profound too. In a different way.
In a more you don't really matter until I say so way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I love when you feed me and let me outside. Yeah. So,
and if you don't let me outside, I'll just use your bed.
There's a belief that that cats, and dogs, but cats especially, will help to process energy, and that's I think there's something to that, because there's such a profound history to cats and dogs into the ancient world. Even like Bus Nde, the Egyptian cat, and they were revered as guardians and supernatural guardians as well. And we see that thread commonly in the Paranormal Portal when we're doing stories that have to do with animals, that they're like the first barometer that something's wrong.
Right.
The pet will cue far before people are aware that something's not right. So.
Well, Dee said that. Yeah, Dee just said cats come and go between realms easily.
Yeah, I think they are a multidimensional animal.
That's what happens when you realize they're demons.
And I thought it was under the bed the whole time.
Let me roll my eyes and my reality shift here for a second. Yeah. Yes, cats are brilliant little animals.
They are. They are their own. They are their own entities.
There is a truth.
Yeah. So let's continue on this. The next one is MM's NDE. It was 1971, and I was 16, and I was coming out of high school and coming down a driveway, and I heard something or someone say, "Hurry up and run! Your sister is going to have the baby." So I ran down the school driveway, stopped at the bottom, looked to my left, no cars. Went to the middle yellow line, looked to my right, no cars. Went to join my friends on the other side of the street when I felt something hit my hip. All of a sudden, I saw a yellow light like an hourglass figure come around me, and when I looked again or blinked, I saw white puffy clouds, blue sky, and felt very peaceful feeling. I asked, "Am I in heaven?" I could talk and hear things going on. There was someone calling a name that I didn't realize was mine. And there was someone screaming. I asked, "Who is that screaming?" And when I blinked again, I was back on the street on all fours. When I opened my eyes, I could see a semi-truck because they had stopped traffic. And that was the next thing I couldn't get through. It was a car that hit me on the opposite side of the street, and I think turned me around, or I was thrashing. I never was able to find out what the circumstances of the accident were. 24 hours later, I was hit... What? 24 years later, I was hit by a pickup truck. When I felt that hit on my hip, I thought, what the hell? And saw nothing. When I awoke, I told my son, "Wow, that was a good sleep." He said, "Ma, don't move. You've been hit by a truck. Pickup." In the second occurrence, I had the premonition that something was going to happen. I wouldn't go out for 4 days, but my son talked me into it. It's all okay as I am alive today to see his beautiful baby boy that was born 5 weeks ago.
Wow.
Huh. Very interesting. Sorry, I felt a tickle in my nose.
It's a spider.
Or, well, good.
It's a paranormal pest.
Yeah. The paranormal pest.
We have a chatter that popped in, Diabolical Witness.
Uh-huh.
And says, first time watching, and of course something happens. Unfortunately, Diabolical Witness, this is a haunted show. Something always happens here.
What happened to him?
What do you mean?
Or what happened that they witnessed?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know, something diabolical? Bolical?
What are you seeing? Is there something going on behind me? What the hell's going on here?
Hold on a sec. Let me grab my bottle again.
Let me grab the holy water. Let me make it holy.
Yeah. Let me drink it through that little holy right there.
Yeah, this is the only paranormal show in existence that I'm aware of that has actually haunted or actually experiences paranormal crap all the time.
All the time. Thanks,
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah. Well,
Big shout out to Paranormal Paul.
Paranormal Paul, yeah. He's allegedly, according to Deb, is the person that hangs out in my studio that's unseen is actually my old best friend roommate who
Standing right there.
You know, we were wonderful, great friends, but he ended up dying quite early, and so apparently he's still around, trying to help. But I don't know what his version of help is, but
help in a mischievous type of way.
Help to prove the paranormal, maybe.
Hey, that'd be fine with me.
Well, you know, I don't know. We've both experienced plenty, and you know, I've got a lifetime of experience behind me, but doing this show is a whole new thing. This one is called "Hit by a Bus Nde." My life changed as I nearly died after being knocked over. Hit by a double-decker bus. How do you miss that coming?
Harry Potter style.
Yeah, the night bus. I was unconscious for over a year. Wow. When I did wake up, I didn't know where I was, and all I could see were monitors and a bleeping machine, it says. Everything was like a whirlwind, and I started to shout, "Where am I?" My left leg was hurting, so I couldn't move. A strange lady talked to me and told me what had happened and where I was, but it seemed like it was the day after the day I died, everything had changed. Even my granddad died in the space of time I was unconscious. I didn't even get to say goodbye. I was in the hospital for over 3 months. Then I was sent home. As I lay in bed, I went all hot and fuzzy and started to see whirlwinds of people as if my head was spinning around. I fainted and reawoke quite quickly to find when I looked in the mirror, my face was bright red, and there was a white cross on my left cheek. A week after that, I was sitting on the bank with my friends eating my lunch, and we were talking about ghosts and our experiences. My friend spotted the white cross on my face again. And that's the whole story. So it's a very, very strange. He doesn't really go into what happened other than seeing the white cross on his face.
Right, yeah. Doesn't tell what, yeah.
Yeah, not much of an explanation there, but yeah, terrible. Soul near-death experience. All right. No, so this is, I guess, where the soul sees the body. Okay. Story of a near-death experience where the soul sees the body. My name is Gemma or Gemma. I don't know how to pronounce this.
I think it's usually pronounced Gemma.
Okay, Gemma, and I'm 16. When I was 12, I was given a cat for Christmas. It was a pretty old cat, teenaged when I got it. 2 years later, it was giving birth to its second litter of 5 kittens. One of the kittens really stood out to me, and I begged my parents to let me keep it. We happened to be in the kitchen when my mom finally said that I could keep the little kitten. About 30 seconds later, we heard a blood-curdling meow from the mother cat. We ran into the living room. The mother cat just looked at me, laid down, and passed away. Wow. About 10 minutes later, my mom and I, went to feed the kittens and found that they had all passed away except for the one I had begged my mom for. It just looked at me and didn't stop. At this time, I heard a voice telling me not to worry and that everything is okay. I didn't really know what was going on. I was still awake, and the kitten kept staring into my eyes. I bent down to pick it up and fainted soon as I touched the kitten. Jeez.
Wow.
I felt a hand touch me and help me up, but it was my own spirit or soul, not my body. I could see my body, which was now surrounded by my little sister, mom and dad, and little brother. My brother was shaking me, crying and screaming for me to wake up. I could feel his hand shaking me, but at the same time, I could see him doing it. I was now standing behind my brother. I leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. He stopped for a second and calmed down. My mom ran into the kitchen, grabbed the phone, and called for help. At this time, I was still looking at my brother. I turned around to look at my mom, and she was lit like a light. She was a beautiful, glowing pink shape. As she ran through the living room, she walked straight into me, and I pushed back into my body on the ground. I started crying and slowly sat up. I could see my family was crying, but now it was happy tears. I couldn't hear anything, and I turned around, looked behind me, and saw the kitten was glowing. As I looked at it, the kitten just looked at me and meowed. 2 days later, it passed away. What the hell?
Wow.
That is so weird. Then, when the ambulance came to have a look at me, they couldn't find anything medically wrong. I told them I was fine. I believed that my life was saved by my amazing mother who pushed my soul back into my body, and the kittens' lives that were given for mine. You know, that's very, 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 very weird.
Right.
I mean, first the mama kitten, makes this horrendous meow, looks and dies, and then suddenly all the kittens are dead except the one she picked. And then she kind of died. What the hell's going on? It's like death just came by and did a swoop.
Yeah, just
like a
scythe them right out.
Quick scythe through the house. It's like literally, what the hell is going on there?
The visage of death.
Well, how the hell would so many things drop dead? And she almost did. And then the kitten died 2 days later. Holy spookiness.
Yeah, that's definitely weird.
That's like all kinds of wrong weird. That's like, that's like evil or something. I don't know. She seems rather, calm about it, but I'd be all kinds of worried.
We have a chatter in the in the
chat room.
Yeah, the chat room.
Okay.
I want to know if I can read this on air so I don't, out anybody. I mean, it is in chat, but I want to make sure. So, can I read that story that's been in there? Give me a yes or no in the chat room. I'd love to read it.
Okay.
So anyhow, continue until I get an answer.
All right. Yeah. If you've written a story or an account in the chat, please give us permission and we'll be happy to read it on the show.
Or if you'd like, email it to us at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com.
Absolutely. You can do that as well. And then I can read it.
There.
Or Don can read it. Either way.
Okay.
Either way, we're just happy to share your experiences. In fact, I love your guys' experience more than anything.
That's what we want here.
Yeah, exactly.
Audience participation.
Audience participation. Study hall near death. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Another NDE. Study hall near death experience. Excuse me. All right. I'm just hacking as usual. Hello, my name is Valerie, and I am from the Chicagoland area. Excuse me. I had a near-death experience when I was 16 years old and a sophomore in high school. I was at school when it actually took place. I was sitting in study hall and the seats went up like bleachers, where the teacher would have been down below in front of all the students, and I had been feeling really tired that day. I had a lot of traumatic things that had been taking place at that time in my life, and I cried out for God's help on a regular basis, and as I really did not want to live. Well, I was sitting there and I had a book in my hand and a pencil in case I wanted to write something down. I kept falling out of the chair, and I thought I was just falling asleep naturally, but this young man who was sitting next to me kept asking me if I was okay. He said, "You keep falling back in your chair and your body keeps going limp. You dropped your pencil." And that's how I noticed. I said, "Yeah, I think I'm okay. I'm just really tired." It did seem strange to me as well how I kept falling out of my chair so quickly. When I felt wide awake 1 second earlier, and I kept doing that quite a few times and started jolting awake in my body. People were looking at me like, "What the heck is going on? Is she okay?" But then I would come back to what they were doing, assuming I was fine. Next thing I knew, I felt really super awake, and the room seemed to be, quote, off, unquote. The teacher was getting further and further away from me. I questioned how this was possible as I was sitting in the same exact spot. I eventually started seeing her go down even further and further. And I looked down, and in shock, I saw that my body laying there in the chair limp, and my pencil had fallen to the floor again. Just how the young man had described. I was in shock. It felt really different to see my body from a looking-on perspective, and I eventually saw this blackness, like a doorway, if you will, to someone else from behind me, but I couldn't see where it led to or beyond it. I then heard an older male's voice within my mind. It was like he was speaking to me within my mind, and I was in my mind as well and could hear, and he could hear me perfectly fine. He told me that I had a choice. I could leave my body and go beyond the blackness to a different place that wouldn't be a bad place, or I could stay in this life and do more work. He told me that either way, it was my decision, that there was no wrong or right answer. But if I left, I couldn't go back to that body ever again. This life would be over. I think he was trying to tell me that they saw my suffering. He had heard my cries, and they were there to help me if I wanted. But I had the feeling like this was a rare one-time-in-a-long-time offer, you know? I did not feel scared, and I knew either way it was up to me. I remember asking the male voice what was beyond the doorway. He told me that he could not tell me because it would be interfering possibly with my decision, and it had to be all up to me. He told me that they heard me when I was crying out and begging so often to be taken out of this life. That's why I believe this chance had come around to me. I had decided to stay, for I guess it felt I wasn't ready to be done with my work here on earth for this life. I had struggled for a few minutes, I think, making up my mind. I was tempted to go beyond that darkness to that other place, but I was told by the male voice, who I could not see with my eyes, only hear, that time was running out and I had to decide either way. The young man next to me had started shaking me again and was panicking this time. He'd even grabbed the attention of the teacher, and they were both now panicking as I was not responding. He told the teacher it seemed as if I was dead and not breathing. Some of the others in the room started to grab attention to this, and they were getting curious and panicky now as well. When I came back to, after making my decision to stay, the young man was very shaken up, and he told me he thought that I was for sure dead, gone. I was shaken up as well and asked him if he had seen me floating above my body. I told him I saw everything from above my body, and he just looked at me with confusion and awe and said no. I was asked if I felt okay and replied, yes, I think so. The teacher then suggested I go to the nurse and agreed that sounded like a wise idea. This is a 100% true story of an experience I had when I was just 16 years old. I am today currently 29 years old, and I think this NDE was amazing. I wanted to share it with other people. I felt so awake, even more so, when I was floating above my body. I could still feel and hear everything I could while here on Earth. I really didn't even feel like I had died. I just felt lighter, as if I wasn't restrained in my body. This is how I believed it is when we all pass on from this life, leaving our earthly bodies behind. That's really cool. That would be a first incident I've ever heard of somebody being so sad that they were offered the opportunity or the choice.
Well,
maybe that's the old dying of a broken heart thing, though, right?
Huh, interesting thought. But I mean, there's assisted suicides, things like that. How miserable does somebody have to be? But I mean, if there was an alternative that was okay, quote unquote, with God, whatever your higher power be, because, we all know, hey, can you change that? There you go. It's been on me for 10 minutes now.
It's all you, Don.
It's all Don.
It's the Don Show.
But Gong. No, that was the Gong Show, not the Don Show. But I lost my train of thought. I was rolling
the whole
along.
Choice.
Oh, yeah, if you were given a choice by, say, God to, return to the source, shall we say, would you take it? If God said, you're so miserable, I'm willing to take you, but you're not ready, then, that'd be an interesting situation.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I think, I personally believe... I know you hear those stories of people taking such good care of their bodies. They exercise all the time,
Mm-hmm.
eat organic, eat, whole foods and nothing processed.
And they die at the age of 35.
Yeah, they die at the age of 35 of some, degenerative disease. And then you hear the people that eat McDonald's drive-through and smoke
Drive until 90.
2 packs of cigarettes and drink like a fish, and they live to be, 100. And it's like, why? How? But I just think it has to do with when the journey's over, it's over,
done,
right?
You're done.
And we're gonna when we die, it's gonna be because it was our time. As much as that sucks and sounds, for the survivors, for the people that are left,
Right.
and it's something that I've had to ponder quite a bit. Obviously with my dad passing recently, it's like when it's time, it's time. And he certainly didn't pass away fast. He kind of wound down and
Right.
a shadow of his former self. But then again, that may have been the beauty of it, that it wasn't a harder thing because we all knew it was coming.
Right.
We were all slowly preparing for the idea that he wasn't going to be around.
Right.
And that we would have to continue without him. And so maybe that's the grace of it. But I don't know. I just think it would be great if we could rewrite things according to what we think we want. But, at the end of the day, you're here for a purpose. You're here for, and I believe that purpose is to grow and to expand and to learn and to perhaps teach and to help improve the situation of this world, because this world, many people think that this is just like an afterthought and we're, just earning something next. But I think that this is like maybe the proving grounds. Is it real? Is it illusion? Well, yeah, I think it's illusion. I think it's illusory. I don't know that, it's an illusion cooked up by some other being, or if it's our illusion or what. That's what I'm wrestling with personally as I have all these ideas going through my head. Part of being on TFR, of course, is just expanded the ability to think of other alternative ideas that I'd never had before or never would have had on my own.
Right.
And that's a wonderful thing. And I'm certainly not, speaking against anybody else's thoughts. They've certainly taught me a lot.
Right.
But I think we're here for a purpose. We experience that purpose, and when the time comes, we die. Now, is there tragic deaths that don't have to happen? Sure. I think that there are forks in the road.
Right.
Where things can happen one way or the other, and that's where the opportunity of choice happens. Or it's just sometimes, things have changed for whatever reason, and so the dynamics change.
Right, right.
I personally don't believe any parent should ever have to bury their child.
Oh,
I just
God, no,
don't.
yeah.
I think that's just, to me, it sounds like the most nightmarish hell that anybody could endure. And, I thank God, or, the universe every day, that I've never had to experience that. And my heart bleeds profusely for every parent that has had to experience that.
Right.
Like the baby Alfie thing.
God,
Now, so there again, that's an example of something absolutely tragic and horrible. It didn't have to be that way, but because it did go that way, is that serving as a catalyst for change that needs to happen? Is that the higher purpose, that since it did go that way, the choice was made that it went that way, whether through a court or through medical professionals or whatever. So the higher purpose then is that the awareness shifts and changes, and we realize that something needs to give,
Right.
that something is so profoundly broken
Right.
that it forces us to wake up and engage that and change it. So maybe that's the silver lining to that storm cloud.
Right.
That it's a horrid, absolutely profane event that happened to that child and to the parents, but it can serve as the beauty of it is it can serve. It's such an outrage that it's going to inspire a hell of a lot of people to get involved and change things that are absolutely wrong. That's my hope. That's my belief.
And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about, when we first, opened up tonight was, about how we've gotten so far away from, taking care of ourselves the right way instead of having these doctors tell us, you've got to be on this medication, you've got to be on this medication. What happened to the lost ways, and, why aren't we going back to those? Well, obviously it's because if you say something about it, you end up in a drink somewhere, with with your pickup on top of your head, whatever. But anyhow. I digress. But, you know, I mean, that's a perfect example of what's going wrong and why, you know, so. Hey, the chatter said I could go ahead and read what she posted. So, with that being said, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
By all means.
So Jane, one of our chatters in the room today, and I don't know if Jane's new to us or if she's listened before, but
I've not seen her before, but thanks for being here, Jane.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful, and we are thrilled you're here, of course.
Absolutely. So Jane says, when I died, there was 3 curtains that were in color. Beyond the curtains, there were lines of people that were not in color. Long, long lines that I did not follow. I'm sorry. Did not follow. I believe the first curtain was blue, and it was the dimension of the past.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to catch up with her. The second was gold, and it was the future. The last curtain was silver, and when I went through it, I ended up in my body again.
Oh,
so there's
that's the present.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you know, there's your answer. You know, there's an answer, I should say, is, you know, you choose your destiny at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you can go back, you can go to the future, you can go back to your body, or you can go back to the past. Now, however that manifests after that, you know, is yet to be seen or, you know, figured out. But that's interesting. That's an interesting pathway.
It is. That's a really cool representation of that too.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And thank you for sharing that, Gene. That's awesome. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
The stories like that make the show so much better because they're yours. They're yours as part of, well, I hope you're part of the family now.
Well, yeah.
Jane, are you part of the family now? Are you in? Are you in?
Yeah. Are you buying into this insanity we call the portal?
It's sometimes an absolutely entertaining thriller ride, and other times it's kind of like therapy. That we may require.
We're always looking for good psychotherapists.
Yes.
But throw in a paranormal psychologist as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We found a lot of psychos. We just need the therapists. Thank you. Sorry. Come on, that was a little funny. Maybe? No?
Yeah, well, it was actually a slip of the lip. I meant a parapsychologist, but whatever.
All right.
All right. So anyhow.
Melanie's childhood NDE. I was only 7 years old when this happened to me. The year was 1962. My father just built our family a huge house along a creek, and my younger brother and I always playing in or near it. My brother could swim like a fish, but I could not, so my mother decided to send me to summer camp for girls in the hopes that I would learn how to swim. This way she wouldn't have to worry so much about us playing in the creek. Well, 2 weeks went by, and although I had a pretty good time, I didn't learn to swim. We were taught to hold on to the side of the pool, blow bubbles, and kick our feet, and that was the full extent of my lessons. Wow, that's terrible. They might want to look at that curriculum.
No doubt.
At the end of my 2 weeks, they gave a party to all those leaving for home, and as a sort of farewell and hope to see you again type of party. Everything was going great until they started the rally races in the pool. I don't for the life of me understand why they put us 7-year-olds in the deep end of the pool. I was doing all right, though. I used a small board to kick my way across the pool, and in that segment, did all right. Then we had to swim any way we could to get across to the other side. I did a kind of distorted side stroke and was so proud of myself for swimming alone. That was the very first time for me. And then disaster struck. We had a lit candle that they had stretched a rope lengthwise in the pool. We had to go under the rope, and change hands with the candle without it going out, or you had to go back and get it lit all over and start again. When I got to the rope and went to change hands, I sank to the bottom of the pool. I gasped in fear and sucked in a lot of water and went unconscious. There are a lot of kids in that pool and a lot of commotion. No one noticed me at first as I lay on the bottom of the pool. I remember seeing my body through the water and rising above it. I kept on rising and was surrounded by beautiful pastel-colored clouds. It was like I was being gently rolled around and lifted higher and higher. Then I came out of it and woke up choking and spitting out a lot of water. And that was as far as I got. But I remember it like it was yesterday. And I'm now almost 51. Since then, I have seen many spirits and have had many divine interventions in my life, had healings. One of those I had an angel in my bedroom, and seem to have grown up with an inner knowing. I feel like I am truly blessed for having this experience. By the way, I did learn to swim that summer. My little brother taught me, and I can swim like a fish still. That's cool. That's another side piece of this whole event, is that it is not uncommon for these people that have had these experiences to emerge with a heightened sense of ESP, quote unquote ESP, or other ability that didn't exist before, or it's just been elevated to such a profound level.
It's been activated.
Right, been activated. Exactly.
Broke through the pineal gland.
Well, yeah. I mean, it may instantly decalcify the pineal. It may just awaken it to a full function because it's been in a state of lethargy through chemical or whatever means this world throws at it. But that's real common as people come out, and it's like I suddenly could see things coming before they happen. I can suddenly tell how people are feeling around me. I can see spirits now when I never could before. And, that's a real common side effect of these NDEs, which is, is that a symptomatic of the brain having to reroute due to those problems, and maybe it opens up those pathways more? I don't know. I don't pretend to be able to speak to the science of it, but it is a real common.
And Pixie, they were in the chat room. Pixie says, well, you were speaking, and she just happened to say, I find neurofeedback to be very effective. Neurofeedback, I don't know if you know, but that's when you do these visual and these auditorial exercises, and it's supposed to maybe not necessarily reopen, but form new pathways in your brain to open you up to those. So, as a matter of fact, Pixie and I were talking months ago about this, and she suggested this piece of equipment, shall we say. I still have to, really look into it because, supposedly this neurofeedback is supposed to help you with opening the pathways of the mind so you can, your memory becomes better, things like that. And it also feeds into the body where, your body starts feeling, following the health of your brain, that's kind of part of some of what it is. But it's just funny that you talk about, maybe it's the opening of, the new pathways or something like that. So I wonder if neurofeedback will lead Pixie to a life of mediumship or psychic ability, or probably not, because we drink too much.
I actually one thing I've noticed as a common trend in our listeners, in our regular family members here on the portal, is that all of them seem to have an elevated spiritual energy.
I agree. Yeah.
It's not, it's, everybody that's in here has been absolutely profound and has had experiences or have had, some abilities, and it's just been really cool because it seems to be this group of these exceptional people. Honestly.
Because I'm still looking.
No,
I'm looking for paranormal happening.
You are absolutely very tuned in. It's just that you're also very skeptical of yourself, and so you turn it off as much as it's turned on, because it's just one of those things.
Did you get that, folks? I turned myself off.
That's not where I was going with this at all. But you know what I'm saying? Our listeners tend to be these really profoundly awake and aware people. And that's why, I feel like I can go off on tangents about, ideas without, threatening the sensibilities of anybody, because, we appear to be a group of searchers.
Right.
That are looking for these truths that are in our world and, in our minds and in the universe. You know what I mean? Right. I don't know. Yeah. It's just me paraphrasing what I've been thinking about for a while, but I think about our listeners and it's like,
wow,
you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just it. That's a great word. It's just a wow. These people are phenomenal, and it's not me just, playing an ego, game. I'm just, honestly, I'm very taken aback by the profound level of people that have been real supportive and the ability they seem to share and have. So they just make us up our game. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
That's true. And everybody's agreeing with you. Taz agrees.
Yeah.
Pixie, Pixie agrees. Pixie says we're all finding each other.
Yeah, that's really true. It's like a family of choice, right?
Yeah. Well, I think we're led to this family, and that's how. Yeah, we're fine, and then we're choosing to be with them.
Well, we choose to keep them.
Yeah. Even the ones that are nuts.
The adaptive host program.
Oh, I guess I'm going up for adoption soon, folks.
Today's eligible host is Mr. Longbeard.
Yeah.
A fine gentleman from the upper north of Idaho. Don fancies grilling and basement meat. To find out more about Don, go to www.aetherarchives.com.
Oh.
I'm not sure if that URL exists, does it?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
But,
you won't
it's
find
not
down there.
my domain, that's for sure.
It's a para family. That's right, Dee. Thank you. We are a paranormal para family. But I love you all bunches, that's for sure. Do you believe what time it is already?
Yeah, it says that we started streaming 2 hours ago, and look at that, it's 9:02.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. We have burned through this night.
We have.
But I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the dialogue and the thoughts about this. But I personally think NDEs are just absolutely phenomenal affirmations of the spiritual reality that surrounds us.
Well said.
Well, I don't know. It's thank you. I'll just say thank you. But it just seems really, really, really to be a real powerful example. And people are coming back with messages. They're coming back with a heightened sense of peace and love. And maybe we all need an NDE. Really, maybe that would
renewed purpose. Yeah,
renewed purpose. Thank you. That's a very good way of saying that too. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the show as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. But again, make sure that you've hit the like button.
Yep.
How many likes now, Don?
We have 16 and we have 19 watching.
So if you have not hit the like button, please do that because it does help YouTube to endorse the video more on organic searches. So the more likes, the better. The more people will see the portal.
And a special shout out to Jane. Thanks for letting us share your story. And of course, if anybody wants to share a story, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com.
Did you put it in the chat too?
I did put it in the chat.
Excellent.
And if anybody wants to email me, aetherarchives@gmail.com. That's AETHERACRA. Archives.
Whatever.
ARCHIVES@gmail.com.
Just sound it out, ladies and gentlemen. Don's got it all wrong.
Hold on a second. I need a sip of this.
But Aether is AETHER. And then
that
Archives, ARCHIVES.
That is correct.
At gmail.com. Sorry. I almost said paranormalportal.com. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for always being here and being so supportive of what we're doing. You guys really are the heartbeat of the show. So thanks for all of your encouragement and support and love. And please spread the word. Let people know about the portal. We, Jane, in case you're not aware of the schedule, the Wednesday streams are 7 until 9 generally on Wednesday evenings. However, the Paranormal Portal is a network show on TFRlive.com, iHeartRadio on the TFR channel, Truth Frequency channel. And we're also on TuneIn and TalkStream. And we do simulcast those on YouTube as well, and that's at 10 p.m. Pacific till midnight Pacific on Friday and Saturday nights. And then the call-in number will work on Friday, Saturday nights. So definitely hope to see you again, Jane. Thanks for finding us tonight.
She found us through MeWe.
Oh, wonderful.
Yay! Thank you. That was my yes. That was
Don.
all me. See, that's Don doing his due diligence and getting us guests.
That's Don getting involved.
Thank you. It's reaffirming that I'm doing the right thing.
You are doing the right thing. It's every time you do something, it really helps a bunch. Really, I mean, your contributions to the show have grown astronomically in the last month.
Yeah, no.
You know, you've really done a great job. So thank you for helping me lift the load.
It's for both of us, buddy.
Oh, I know.
I just want to make sure.
Absolutely.
And I will go ahead and drop the MeWe Aether Archives Paranormal Portal fan page URL address in the YouTube right here.
Okay.
And so find us on YouTube. Request. It is by invitation and request only. You cannot just jump into here. Because this is for our family specifically. Seriously?
Ken says basement time now, guys.
Hey, gotta take a nap, man.
All right, so we love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of what we're doing and helping us grow and become better than we already were. Because you guys are amazing.
Because it's all you.
Because we love you. Heart. Thank you.
Oh, nice.
I made a heart. Thank you. No, it's more like this, Don. You got the fat heart going. That's a little more of a tomato. This is a heart.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
See,
all right. Making hearts here. All right. Love you guys. Take care, and we'll see you on Friday nights. Be sure to remember on Saturday's show, we'll be joined by Obake Hunter, our haunted Hawaii man. That's Philip Torres. He'll be on the show. Yep. Be a great time. He's a wonderful addition. Has been a wonderful guest, and he will be making his return visit
right after the barbecue
on Saturday night here on the Paranormal Portal, and that'll be at 10 p.m. Pacific time. Look forward here live streaming on YouTube as well, ladies and gentlemen. But we love you bunches, and we will see you on Friday night for another episode. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.